Imagine getting a package that wasn't meant for you, and when you open it, you find something unexpected. Diary. Not just any diary, but one filled with deep confessions, notes about a lost love, and the pain of a breakup that feels endless. David, stuck in a dull routine and unsure if his relationship is worth saving, finds himself drawn into the pages of this diary. Every word from Sarah, a stranger he's never met, seems to echo his own fears and doubts. Driven by an unexplainable connection, he decides to find Sarah. But what starts as a simple act of returning a lost item quickly turns into a quest that unearths forgotten feelings, hidden secrets, and a confrontation with his own heart. Fate has put him on a path he never would have chosen, but as he searches for answers for a stranger, could he end up finding his own? I was having one of those days when the world felt like a dull shade of gray, a monotonous blend of routine and responsibility. The morning had begun with the same old shuffle of waking up late, rushing through breakfast that I'd barely tasted, and navigating through the endless gridlock of city traffic. So, when I got home that evening and found a package at my doorstep, it seemed like just another item on my to-do list. I picked it up, looking at the name on the label, Sarah Thompson. The address was wrong, but my curiosity got the better of me. I could have just left it for the postman, but there was something about the way it felt in my hands, heavy and filled with unspoken stories. I took a seat on my couch, and despite the nagging voice in my head telling me to let it go, I decided to open it. Inside, I found a journal. Its cover was worn, the edges frayed, as if it had been held tightly by someone who had poured their soul into it. I ran my fingers over the pages, feeling the texture of the paper, the weight of the emotions contained within. I flipped it open and began reading. The first entry struck me like a bolt of lightning. Love is a fragile thing. One moment, you're soaring. The next, you're grounded. I could hardly breathe. The words resonated deep within me, echoing thoughts I'd been battling in my own heart. As I read further, I found myself lost in Sarah's world, her struggles and her longing. It was as if she was peeling back the layers of her heart, exposing every scar and every hope. I couldn't believe how much I connected with her words. That night, I lay in bed, the journal open beside me, my mind racing with thoughts of Sarah's reflections. Each passage seemed to mirror my own experiences, especially with Meg. I thought of our relationship, how it had started with such promise but had slowly dwindled into routine conversations and distant glances. Why can't we talk like we used to? I muttered to myself, recalling a recent evening when Meg and I had sat across from each other at the dinner table, both of us too tired to spark any real conversation. As I turned another page, I found a particularly poignant entry where Sarah described the ache of loss after a relationship ended. Her words flowed like a river of sorrow, tugging at the corners of my heart. I could feel the weight of her pain, the longing for something that had slipped through her fingers. Maybe I'm just reading too much into this, I whispered to the darkness of my room, but deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Sarah's journey was awakening something in me, something I hadn't allowed myself to explore. The next morning, I woke up with a new resolve. I couldn't just leave Sarah's journal gathering dust in my apartment. I needed to find her, to return it, but more importantly, to understand the story behind the words. Maybe it would help me find clarity in my own tangled emotions. I glanced at the journal again, its pages still whispering secrets. This isn't just about the journal, I said to myself, gripping it tightly. It's about finding answers, about understanding why I feel so lost. So I made a decision. I would embark on a quest to track down Sarah, not just to return her journal, but to uncover the hidden threads that connected our lives. I felt a flutter of excitement mixed with anxiety as I thought about what I might discover. What if Sarah held the key to understanding my own heart? With each passing moment, as I prepared to delve deeper into her world, I felt the weight of my own frustrations lift just a little. I was on the brink of something new, something transformative. Little did I know, the journey ahead would unravel not only Sarah's past, but my own as well, leading me toward unexpected revelations about love, loss, and the intricate tapestry of human connection. As days turned into nights, the diary became my sole companion. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a collection of pages. It was a lifeline to someone who had experienced a profound love. I found myself sitting on my couch, the warm light of the lamp casting soft shadows around the room, my heart racing as I turned each page. The entries were raw, filled with longing and regret, and they struck a chord deep within me. It was as if Sarah was whispering her secrets directly into my soul. "Why can't I just let go?" I muttered to myself, echoing Sarah's own words from one of the entries. Her pain resonated with my own. I was stuck in a relationship with Meg, plagued by a suffocating routine that felt more like a prison than a partnership. The diary made me question everything. Suddenly, a thought struck me. I had to find Sarah. I needed to return the diary, but deep down, I craved answers that I wasn't sure I'd find. I decided to call my sister, Claire, who always seemed to have her finger on the pulse of the social circle. "Claire, do you remember that friend of yours, Sarah? The one who went MIA?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Oh, Sarah? Yeah, I remember her. She was dating that artist, Lucas." "Why?" Claire replied, a hint of curiosity in her tone. I think I found her diary," I confessed, my heart racing. "What? Come." "It was delivered to my address by mistake. I've been reading it and it's incredible but heartbreaking. I need to know what happened to her." There was a pause on the other end before Claire spoke again. "You know, Lucas was a bit of a mess. Their relationship was intense, filled with ups and downs. I heard they had a bad breakup. Do you know where I might find her?" I pressed, a sense of urgency building within me. "I think she's been spending time at the old gallery downtown. You might catch her there," Claire suggested. "Thanks, Claire. I owe you one," I said, disconnecting the call. With a newfound sense of purpose, I ventured into the city, clutching the diary tightly in my backpack. I walked through the vibrant streets, the sounds of laughter and music surrounding me, but I felt detached from it all. The diary was my anchor, leading me towards Sarah, yet my heart was heavy with questions. As I stepped into the gallery, the scent of fresh paint and polished wood enveloped me. I scanned the room, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Just then, I noticed a woman standing in front of a large canvas, her long hair cascading down her back. It had to be Sarah. "Excuse me," I said, my voice shaky as I approached her. "Are you Sarah?" She turned, her eyes widening in recognition. "Yes, who are you?" "My name is David. I found your diary. I wanted to return it to you." Her expression shifted from surprise to a mixture of relief and apprehension. "You read it?" I nodded, suddenly feeling exposed. I couldn't help it. "Your words, they resonated with me. I felt like I was reading my own thoughts." She looked down at the floor, biting her lip. "I wrote those entries during a really difficult time in my life." "I understand. I'm going through something myself," I admitted, unsure if I should share more. Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes meeting mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "You're not the first person to find solace in my words. I poured my heart into that diary." "I can see that. It's beautiful, but it's heavy," I replied, the weight of her story pressing on my chest. "I was lost back then," she said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. "Lucas and I had something real, but it fell apart, and I've been trying to piece myself back together ever since." "I read about your relationship with him. It sounded intense," I said, carefully choosing my words. "It was," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "And it was also painful. Sometimes I wonder if I ever truly knew him, or if I just loved the idea of him." Her vulnerability struck me. I felt a connection building, a thread weaving our stories together. "I think I'm in a similar situation. I'm starting to question my own relationship and what it means to truly love someone." Sarah studied me for a moment, her expression softening. "Then maybe you're on the right path. It's never easy to confront those feelings." I nodded, feeling a mix of hope and trepidation. "I just hope I don't make the same mistakes." "Just be honest with yourself," she advised, her voice steady. "That's the first step." In that moment, surrounded by the art that represented the complexity of human emotion, I understood that my journey was just beginning. The diary had led me to Sarah, and perhaps in some way, it was guiding me to discover my own truths. Sitting in the quaint cafe that Sarah used to frequent, I felt an eerie sense of being in her world, even if just for a moment. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the faint sound of indie music playing in the background. I opened Sarah's diary once more, the pages worn and frayed, where her words resonated deeply with my own heartache. I read a passage about a rainy day she had spent here, waiting for Lucas, the artist who had captivated her heart. I couldn't help but picture her sitting at the corner table, cup of coffee in hand, eyes glistening with hope. "Excuse me, are you David?" A voice broke through my thoughts. I looked up to see a woman in her late 20s with wavy chestnut hair and a warm smile. She wore a vintage dress that seemed to carry stories of its own. "Yes, I am. Do I know you?" I replied, my curiosity piqued. "I'm Anna, an old friend of Sarah's. She used to talk about you, well, about her life and the love she once had." Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of nostalgia and sympathy, as if she carried the weight of Sarah's past on her shoulders. "Yeah, I found her diary by mistake," confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. I hesitated, then added, "It's been enlightening, to say the least." Anna nodded knowingly. "Sarah's words have a way of pulling you in, don't they?" She poured her soul into that diary. She took a seat across from me, her presence both comforting and unsettling. "What have you learned about her?" "Mostly about her relationship with Lucas. It seems complicated," I admitted, feeling a knot in my stomach as I thought of my own relationship with Meg. She seemed so hopeful at first, but it all fell apart somehow. Anna sighed, her gaze drifting to the window. "That's the thing about love, isn't it? It's often messy and never how we expect it to be." I remember Sarah's excitement when she was with him. She thought he was the one. "What happened?" I asked, even though I knew I was opening a door to painful memories. "Life happened," she said softly. They were young, passionate, and both had dreams that pulled them in different directions. She never quite got over him, you know? It's like a piece of her heart was always missing. We all felt it. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words sinking in. I can relate to that. I've been feeling disconnected from my girlfriend, Meg. It's like we're just going through the motions. Anna studied me for a moment. "Sometimes we think we're in love, but it's really just comfort. You have to ask yourself if it's truly love or just a habit." Her words struck a chord. I thought about my conversations with Meg, the way they had grown more mundane, lacking the spark that once ignited our connection. "Do you think Sarah ever found that spark again?" I asked, desperate to cling to hope. "I wish I could say yes," Anna replied, her expression turning somber. "She's been trying to move on, but Lucas, he's back in town. Complicated for her." I felt my heart race at the mention of Lucas. Back in town? Does she still have feelings for him? "Can't speak for her, but the wounds don't heal easily," Anna said, her voice tinged with sadness. "Love is a powerful thing, and sometimes it leaves scars that take a lifetime to fade." As I absorbed her words, I reflected on my own scars, the fears that had lingered just beneath the surface. "Maybe I'm just afraid of making the wrong choice," I admitted, feeling vulnerable. "What if I lose Meg, and it turns out I was meant to be with her? Or maybe you're meant to find something deeper, something more authentic," Anna replied, her gaze steady. "You owe it to yourself to chase after what truly makes you happy. Life is too short for half-hearted attempts at love." In that moment, I felt an awakening within me, a flicker of clarity that I desperately needed. The idea of settling for comfort instead of pursuing true connection haunted me. I looked at Anna, grateful for her insight. "Thank you, Anna. You've given me a lot to think about," I said, my voice filled with sincerity. "Just remember, David," she said, standing up to leave, "the heart knows what it wants, even if it takes a while to figure it out." As she walked away, I felt a mix of gratitude and confusion swirling within me. I closed Sarah's diary, the weight of her and Anna's stories pressing heavily on my mind. I realized I was standing at a crossroads, grappling with the complexities of love, loss, and the courage to choose a different path. Sitting at the dining table, I watched my mother as she prepared dinner, her hands moving deftly through the vegetables. Familiar sounds of chopping and sizzling filled the kitchen. My mind was elsewhere, drifting through the pages of Sarah's diary. I had spent countless hours reading her words, each entry resonating with me more than the last. The rawness of her emotions struck a chord deep within me, exposing my own vulnerabilities and uncertainties about love and connection. "David," my mother called, pulling me back to the present. "Are you okay? You seem a million miles away." "Yeah, just thinking." I replied, trying to muster a smile. About some stuff I've been reading. Reading? That sounds like a good distraction from whatever's bothering you, she said, glancing over her shoulder. What is it? I hesitated, unsure of how to share my thoughts about a stranger's life that had become so intertwined with my own feelings. It's a diary. It belongs to someone named Sarah. She writes about her life and love. Loss. Love and loss? She echoed softly, her voice suddenly distant. Those are heavy subjects. What do you think you're learning from it? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her gaze. I don't know. It's just, she went through so much heartache, and it makes me wonder if I'm heading down a similar path. I mean, my relationship with Meg feels stagnant. I keep reading Sarah's words, and I can't help but think about what I might be missing. My mother turned off the stove and took a seat across from me, her expression shifting to something more serious. David, sometimes we get so caught up in our routines that we forget to truly connect with the people we love. You have to ask yourself, are you with Meg because you love her? Or is it just comfortable? Her question hung in the air, heavy and charged. I'm not sure, I admitted, feeling a knot tighten in my stomach. It's easy to just go through the motions, but reading Sarah's diary makes me question everything. She had dreams, hopes, but they slipped away. I don't want to wake up one day and realize I let my life slip by too. Have you talked to Meg about how you feel? She asked gently. No, not really. I've been avoiding it. I guess I'm scared of what will happen if I bring it up. What if she feels the same way? Or worse, what if she doesn't? I rubbed the back of my neck, anxiety creeping in. My mother reached across the table and took my hand, her grip reassuring. You won't know until you try. Communication is key in any relationship. You owe it to yourself and to her. Be honest about how you feel. Nodding, I felt a mixture of fear and resolve. I know you're right. It's just, every time I think about talking to her, I hesitate. It's like I'm afraid to confront the truth. Confronting the truth can be painful, David, but it can also be liberating. Remember, love isn't just about the good times. It's about facing the hard moments too. She paused, her expression softening. When I was your age, I had a love that never came to fruition. I thought I could just ignore it, but it lingered, affecting all my relationships. Sometimes the things we bury deep inside us come back to haunt us. Curiosity piqued. I leaned forward. What happened? She sighed, her eyes reflecting a mix of nostalgia and sorrow. It was a long time ago, before I met your father. I fell in love with someone who was just not meant to be mine. It was intense, but ultimately unfulfilled. I buried those feelings, thinking they would go away, but they shaped so much of my life afterward. It took me years to understand that letting go was part of loving. Wow, I said, taking in her words. I never knew. It makes me think about my own situation differently. Maybe I've been too afraid to confront what's not working, just as you were. Exactly, she said, squeezing my hand. You have to be brave enough to face what you feel, even if it's difficult. Part of growing up, David. We learn through our experiences, and sometimes we have to let go to make room for something new. As her words sank in, I found clarity amidst the chaos in my head. I picked up Sarah's diary from the table, feeling its weight, both literal and metaphorical. This diary, it's like a guide. Sarah's journey reflects what I'm going through. Maybe by understanding her pain, I can figure out my own path. My mother smiled softly, her eyes shimmering with understanding. That's the spirit. Remember, it's okay to embrace uncertainty. It's a sign that you're alive and growing. Just don't wait too long to make those decisions. You deserve to be truly happy. With a newfound determination, I nodded. I'll talk to Meg. I have to be honest with her, no matter how scary it feels. Good, she said, her voice filled with encouragement. You'll thank yourself for it later, and who knows, you might find a new beginning in the process. Feeling lighter, I stood up, ready to face whatever awaited me. The journey ahead would be challenging, but I was finally willing to confront the truth that had been lurking in the shadows of my heart. As I stepped into the dimly lit art gallery, my heart raced at the thought of finally finding Sarah. The air was thick with the scent of fresh paint and a hint of varnish, mingling with the distant sound of low conversations and laughter. I was on the verge of something monumental, yet the uncertainty weighed heavily on my shoulders. I scanned the room, taking in the vibrant colors and the way they danced across the walls. But my mind was focused solely on the woman whose diary had drawn me into her world. In a corner, I spotted her. Sarah stood, figure of quiet contemplation, her gaze fixed on a large canvas that looked like a swirling tempest of emotion. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding louder with each step. This was it, the moment I had been both anticipating and dreading. As I drew closer, she turned, her eyes meeting mine, and for a brief second, time seemed to freeze. "David?" she asked, flicker of recognition lighting up her face. "Sarah," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "I found your diary." Her expression shifted, a mix of surprise and something deeper, perhaps vulnerability. "My diary? You actually came to find me?" "I couldn't just keep it," I said, my voice steadying as I held out the worn leather-bound book. "I felt like I needed to give it back to you in person." She took it from me, her fingers brushing against mine, sending a jolt of electricity through my body. As she opened the diary, her eyes glazed over with memories. "I wrote so much in here. About everything, my hopes, my fears, and Lucas." Her voice trembled slightly, and I could see the walls she had built around herself starting to crumble. "Lucas?" I asked softly, not wanting to pry too deep, but needing to understand the significance of the name. She nodded, swallowing hard. "He was everything, and nothing. Complicated." She closed the diary, clutching it to her chest as if it contained fragments of her very soul. "What did you think when you read it?" "I saw a lot of pain," I admitted, my heart aching for her. "But also hope. You wrote about wanting to find yourself again, even after everything that happened." "I thought I could escape it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it's always been there, lingering like a ghost. Sometimes, facing that ghost is the only way to move forward," I said, surprising myself with the wisdom in my words. "I'm learning that too." Sarah looked at me, her eyes searching mine. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my own insecurities and the struggles I faced with Meg. "I've been in a relationship that feels stagnant. Reading your diary made me question everything. It's like I'm standing at a crossroads, trying to figure out which path to take." "Is it hard for you?" she asked, tilting her head slightly, genuine curiosity in her gaze. "Yeah," I replied, feeling inexplicably drawn to her sincerity. "I've been avoiding the truth about what I want, what I really need. Your words, they made me confront those feelings." Sarah smiled softly, and for a moment, I felt like we were both suspended in the chaos of our lives, two souls connecting over the struggles of love and loss. Terrifying, isn't it? To face what you've been running from? "Terrifying and liberating," I said, feeling a spark of hope ignite within me. "Maybe that's what this journey is about for both of us." Her gaze dropped to the diary again, a wistful smile gracing her lips. "I always believed that writing would set me free. But now I realize it's the conversations, connections, that truly matter." "Maybe we can help each other find that freedom," I suggested, my heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. "I mean, if you're open to it." "I'd like that," she replied, a hint of warmth creeping into her tone. "It's nice to know I'm not alone in this." As we stood there, surrounded by the art that spoke of pain and beauty, I felt an undeniable bond forming between us. Perhaps the diary had not only been a vessel of Sarah's story, but also a bridge to my own transformation. In that moment, I understood that our paths had crossed for a reason, and whatever lay ahead, we would face it together. As I sat across from Sarah in that cozy corner of the cafe, the air thick with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, I felt an intensity building between us, as if our conversations were weaving an intricate tapestry of shared pain and understanding. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a golden glow on her features. And for a moment, I forgot the weight of my own life, lost in the vulnerability of hers. "I never thought someone would understand me the way you do," Sarah said, her voice soft but laced with an urgency that made my heart race. She fiddled with the edge of her napkin, as if trying to ground herself in the moment. "It's like, I've been carrying this burden alone, and now, after talking to you, it feels lighter. Does that sound crazy?" I shook my head, leaning in closer. "Not crazy at all. It's refreshing, actually. I felt the same way. Your diary, it opened up a part of me I didn't know existed." I've been so focused on my relationship with Meg that I didn't even realize how detached I had become. Your words were like a mirror reflecting my own insecurities. She looked at me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. It's strange, isn't it? How we can be surrounded by people and still feel so isolated. I thought I was the only one grappling with this kind of loneliness. Exactly, I replied, my voice stronger now, emboldened by her openness. I've been going through the motions, but deep down, I've been terrified that I was losing something vital, something real. Your story made me confront what I've been avoiding. Sarah took a deep breath, her fingers brushing against the cover of her diary, now sitting between us like a bridge connecting our worlds. You know, I wrote about Lucas, but it feels like I was writing about so much more. It was an escape, a way to channel my feelings into something tangible. But now, with you, feels like I'm finally facing the truth. Facing the truth, I repeated, the words resonating within me. You mentioned in your diary that you were afraid of letting go of the past. I get that. I'm stuck in a similar loop with Meg. I keep asking myself if I'm holding on to something that's no longer there, or if I'm just afraid of change. A shadow crossed her face. Change can be terrifying. I mean, look at me. I was just about to leave the city, thinking it would be the solution to my problems. But deep down, I know I can't run away from my feelings. It's like I'm fighting a battle that's already lost. What if I told you that I think it's possible to find hope even in pain? I ventured, the words flowing from somewhere deep within me. Your journey doesn't have to end here. Neither does mine. Sarah's eyes widened slightly, and she leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. You really believe that? That we can find something new amidst all this chaos? Absolutely, I said, feeling a surge of determination. I think it's about understanding our pasts and using those lessons to shape our futures. You've shown me that. Your strength in sharing your story has inspired me to confront my own truths. A small smile broke through her somber expression. You know, it's funny. I didn't expect to connect with anyone like this. I thought I was just going to hand over my diary and walk away. But sitting here with you feels like we're both searching for something more. Yes, I replied, my heart racing at the thought of what lay ahead. And maybe, just maybe, we can help each other find it. As we continued to talk, quiet understanding formed between us, a bond forged in the fires of our individual struggle. Each shared story, each moment of vulnerability, brought us closer, unraveling the threads of our past and intertwining them in a way I never anticipated. I sensed that this connection could either lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves or complicate our already tangled lives. But for now, the possibility of hope felt tantalizingly close, and I was willing to explore it, one conversation at a time. I sat at the small cafe table, nervously fiddling with the napkin in front of me. The atmosphere buzzed with the chatter of patrons, but I felt isolated in my thoughts, a storm brewing inside me. Today was supposed to be a turning point, a chance to confront my feelings, not just about my relationship with Meg, but about everything that had been swirling around in my head since I found Sarah's diary. I had tried to muster the courage to talk to her, to share what I'd learned about myself through her words, but I was still grappling with the weight of my own indecision. David. Meg's voice pulled me from my reverie. She approached with a hesitant smile, her hair catching the light as she took a seat across from me. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. It's okay, I replied, forcing a smile in return. I was just thinking. About? She asked, her brow furrowing slightly. I hesitated, searching for the right words. I wanted to be honest, to lay everything bare, but the words felt heavy, stuck in my throat. About us, I guess. About everything. She nodded, her expression shifting to one of concern. You've seemed distant lately. Is something bothering you? I took a deep breath, feeling my heart race. I've been struggling. You know how everything feels? Routine? I've been thinking about what I want, what we want. I can't shake the feeling that we're both just going through the motions. Meg's eyes widened, and I watched as a mixture of surprise and hurt washed over her face. Are you saying you want to break up? Is that what this is about? No, not exactly, I rushed to clarify, my palms clammy on the table. I just think we need to talk, really talk. I've been reading this diary, and it's made me realize how much I've been avoiding the truth. Whose diary? She asked, her voice tightening. Sarah's, I admitted, the name hanging in the air between us like an uninvited guest. Sarah? The echo. Flicker of jealousy crossing her features. What does her diary have to do with us? It's not just about her, I replied, my voice rising slightly, frustration bubbling to the surface. It's about the things she wrote, her struggles, her feelings about love and loss. It made me think about us, about how we've let our relationship become stale. A long silence enveloped us, the weight of my words settling heavily. Meg looked down, tracing her finger along the rim of her coffee cup. So what do you want me to say? That we should just end things because some stranger's diary made you feel a certain way? No, I want us to change. I want us to fight for what we have, I implored, leaning forward. But we have to be honest with each other. I don't want to keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. I don't know if we can just fix things like that, he replied, her voice wavering. Feels like we've been drifting apart for so long. Then let's talk about it, I urged, desperation creeping into my tone. Let's dig into what's bothering us instead of burying it. I can't keep going on like this, and I don't want to lose you. She looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I'm scared, David. What if we find out we're not meant to be together? What if we uncover things we can't handle? Then at least we'll know, I said softly, reaching across the table to grasp her hand. At least we'll have tried. I don't want to live in fear of what could happen. I want to explore the truth, even if it's painful. Her expression softened, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. Okay, she whispered. Let's try. Let's be honest and see where it leads us. I felt a rush of relief flood over me. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new. A chance to face the complexities of our relationship head-on, instead of skirting around the edges. But even as I felt lighter, a lingering doubt nagged at me. My connection with Sarah loomed over me like a shadow, and I couldn't shake the feeling that my journey was far from over. As I walked through the dimly lit gallery, the scent of oil paint mingled with the chatter of art enthusiasts. The walls were adorned with vibrant canvases, each telling a story of its own. But amidst the whirl of colors and voices, my thoughts were consumed by the weight of the past few weeks. My heart raced as I approached a painting that caught my eye. A swirling vortex of blues and greens, reminiscent of a stormy sea. I felt a pull toward it, but my mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about Sarah, about her diary and the secrets it had unveiled. Then, from the corner of my eye, I spotted him. Lucas. He stood across the room, his presence almost a shadow against the bright artwork. My stomach twisted. The man whose relationship with Sarah had been both a muse and a tormentor. What was I supposed to say? I had spent so much time reading about his impact on her life, and now here he was, an embodiment of the chaos that had brought us together. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, and approached him. Lucas, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He turned, surprise flickering across his features before he masked it with a nonchalant smile. David, I didn't expect to see you here. Yeah, well, I've been around, I replied, my heart beating louder than the music drifting from the speakers. How have you been? Surviving, I guess, he said with a shrug, his eyes drifting back to the painting I had just come from. It's a strange feeling, coming back to a place filled with so many memories. Memories can be heavy, I said, surprised at my own honesty. I've been thinking a lot about them lately. He looked at me, his expression shifting as if he could see the turmoil hidden beneath my words. I know what you mean. Sometimes those memories haunt you, you know? Like ghosts that won't let you move on. Yeah, I said, glancing at the floor. Sarah's been open about what happened between you two. It sounds complicated. Lucas's jaw tightened and he ran a hand through his hair. Complicated is one way to put it. We had something beautiful, but it was also destructive. I left her with a lot of scars. Did you ever think it would end that way? I asked, unable to hold back my curiosity. He sighed, leaning against the wall, staring at the painting. No, I thought we could figure it out. But I was naive. I was caught up in my own world and didn't see how much I was hurting her. His voice was heavy with regret, and I felt a pang of empathy for him, even though I barely knew the man. What happened? I pressed, wanting to understand the nuances of their relationship, the dynamics that had shaped Sarah's experiences and, in turn, my own reflections. Lucas met my gaze, his eyes dark and serious. I was reckless, chasing dreams and ignoring what was right in front of me. I took her for granted, thinking she would always be there. But love doesn't work that way. He paused, his expression softening. I lost her because I didn't fight hard enough. His words struck a chord within me, resonating with the doubts I'd been wrestling with in my own relationship. Do you regret it? I asked, almost hesitantly. Every day, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. But regret doesn't change the past. It's just a reminder of what I lost. I nodded slowly, feeling the weight of our shared pain. It's hard to confront those ghosts, isn't it? Yeah, he said, meeting my gaze again. But sometimes it's the only way to move forward. You have to face them, even if it hurts. As I stood there, lost in the depths of our conversation, the realization began to dawn on me. We were both searching for something. Answers. Closure, maybe even redemption. The art around us faded into the background as we delved deeper into our fears and regrets. Two souls grappling with the complexities of love and loss. In that moment, I understood that we were not so different after all, both trying to navigate the tangled web of our emotions, haunted by the choices we had made. I felt a surge of determination. Perhaps facing these truths was the first step toward finding our own paths to healing. I sat across from Meg in our favorite cafe, the one we had frequented for years, but today felt different. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on us. I took a deep breath, my heart racing as I prepared to lay bare the emotions that had been swirling inside me ever since I found Sarah's diary. Meg, I started, my voice barely above a whisper. We need to talk. She looked at me, her brow furrowing slightly. What's going on, David? You look serious. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, I said, trying to steady my nerves. About us, about everything. I paused, searching for the right words. I feel like we're just going through the motions, like we're stuck in some kind of routine that doesn't make either of us happy. Her eyes widened, and I could see the flicker of concern cross her face. Are you saying you want to break up? Is that what this is about? No, it's not that simple. I shook my head, my hands fidgeting with the edge of the table. I don't want to end things, but I can't pretend everything is fine when it's not. I've been feeling lost. I think you have too. Meg took a sip of her coffee, avoiding my gaze. I don't know what you mean. Things are fine, David. We're just busy, that's all. Are we? I pressed, my frustration building. Busy with what? Work? Social media? We barely talk anymore, Meg. I feel like I'm living with a stranger. We used to share everything. Our hopes, our dreams. Now it's just small talk. She sighed, her defenses crumbling. You're right, I've felt it too. But I guess I thought it was just a phase. We could get through it. But how? I leaned in, my voice urgent. How do we get through it if we don't even acknowledge the problem? I've been holding back because I didn't want to hurt you. But I can't keep lying to myself. It's like we're both on autopilot, pretending everything is okay. I don't want that anymore. Meg looked at me, her eyes glistening. I'm scared, David. What if we can't fix this? What if we're just not meant to be together anymore? Maybe we need to be honest with ourselves first, I replied, my heart pounding. What if we're holding on to something that isn't working? What if we're just afraid of being alone? The silence that followed felt heavy. I watched as she processed my words, her expression shifting from fear to contemplation. I've thought about it too, you know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm with you because it's comfortable, not because it's what I truly want. But I love you, David. I really do. I love you too, I said, my voice thick with emotion. But love isn't always enough. We need more than just love. We need passion, connection, and the willingness to face the truth together. I don't want to wake up one day and realize we've wasted years pretending. Meg wiped a tear from her cheek, and I felt my heart break for her. What do you want us to do, David? She asked, her voice trembling. I want us to be brave, I replied, my resolve strengthening. Let's be honest with each other and ourselves. If that means reevaluating our relationship, then so be it. I'd rather face that possibility than continue living in this uncertainty. She nodded slowly, processing the weight of my words. Okay, let's be honest. But it's going to hurt, isn't it? Yes, I admitted, my throat tight, but it's a necessary pain. Truth can be painful, but it's also liberating. We deserve to know if we can truly be happy together, or if we need to let each other go. Meg took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. I want to try, David. I want to try to find out if we can rekindle what we once had. But if it doesn't work, I'll understand. I felt a rush of relief wash over me, but it was mixed with sadness. This was a turning point, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. But for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of hope. That's all I ask, Meg. Let's be honest with ourselves and each other. No matter what happens, we owe it to ourselves to be true. As we sat there, the cafe bustling around us, I realized that no matter where this conversation led, we were taking the first steps toward something real, toward understanding what love truly meant, both of us. As I sat across from Sarah for what I knew would be our last meeting, the air felt heavy with unspoken words. The cafe was bustling around us, but it felt as if we were in our own little world, suspended in time. I had shared my reflections, my journey of self-discovery ignited by her diary, and now it was her turn to speak. David, she began, her voice wavering slightly, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about moving forward, about letting go. Her eyes were bright yet shadowed with a hint of sadness. I've been preparing to leave the city, actually. Feels like it's time to escape. To confront my own ghosts, I swallowed hard at her words. Leave? But why? You finally started to share your story with me. I thought you were finding some clarity. She chuckled softly, but the sound was laced with pain. Clarity is a tricky thing. Sometimes it reveals what we're afraid to face. She paused, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. And sometimes it uncovers truths we've buried deep. I leaned in, curiosity peeking within me. What truth, Sarah? What are you running from? Taking a deep breath, she looked directly into my eyes, as if searching for the courage to reveal her soul. Lucas, he's my brother. The words hung in the air, thick and bewildering. What do you mean, your brother? I stammered. Her gaze dropped to the table, and I could see the turmoil swirling inside her. Our relationship was never what it seemed. The love I wrote about in my diary, it was about the bond we lost, a connection that twisted into something painful after our parents' divorce. Lucas was my best friend, my protector, but we were torn apart by circumstances beyond our control. I felt my heart race as the pieces began to fit together. So your diary, it was a metaphor? Sarah nodded slowly, tears pooling in her eyes. Yes, it was my way of processing the loss. The emotional distance that grew between us after everything fell apart. I thought I could find him again, but the more I searched for clarity, the more I realized I was just running away from the truth about my family. I leaned back in my chair, stunned by the revelation. But how could you keep something like this hidden? Why tell me now? Because you helped me see that I can't keep running, she said, her voice trembling. Through your journey, I learned that facing our past is the only way to find peace. I thought I was seeking romantic love, but what I really needed was to mend my family ties, forgive, and to heal. I felt a surge of empathy wash over me. I get it. I've been running too from my own fears and from Meg. I thought I was looking for answers in you, but I was just afraid to confront my own choices. David, she whispered, it's okay to be afraid. We all are. But it's what we do with that fear that defines us. As I absorbed her words, I realized that this moment was not just about Sarah's journey. It was about my own. The weight of my unresolved issues with Meg, my hesitations about love, and the choices I had yet to make loomed large in my mind. Sarah, I said slowly, thank you for sharing this with me. It's a gift I didn't expect. I think I need to stop running too. I need to face my own truth. She reached across the table, hand covering mine. You're stronger than you know, David. Embrace this new beginning. Life is full of complicated love, and sometimes the hardest part is letting go of what doesn't serve us anymore. With that, I felt a wave of hope washing over me. I understood now that love takes many forms, and it can be both beautiful and painful. I was ready to redefine what love meant for me, to step into a new chapter of my life with clarity and strength. As we stood to leave, I caught Sarah's gaze one last time. I wish you all the best, Sarah. Go find your brother and heal what needs to be healed. Her smile was bittersweet but genuine. And you, David, Chase after your truth. You deserve it. As I stepped out into the bustling street, I felt lighter, as if the burdens I had carried for so long were finally lifting. The world around me buzzed with life, and I knew that even amidst the chaos, I was ready to embrace my journey, confront my past, and to seek the love that awaited me ahead. Like that story? Then you definitely don't want to miss what happens next. Find out what unfolds after that unexpected kiss between Jake and Emma. Will that impulsive moment wreck their friendship, or lead to something more? Secrets, jealousy, and truths are about to be revealed. Click on the video popping up on your screen and get ready to be surprised.